Hello, it is Tracy Jackson, also known as the spiritual cheerleader. I'm coming to you with day 13, lesson 13 of A Course in Miracles, A Meaningless World, Engenders Fear. Um, I really like these lessons. It's just dawning on me from last year when I was reading them to this year how I feel about them as I come back to them for a second time. It's just like it's like my heart just opens even more each time I read it, because I'm like, yes, like I feel like I'm at church or something when I read some of the lines in here. But obviously this picks up again from what we looked at yesterday. In yesterday's, we were saying we were upset because we see a meaningless world, and now we've moved from that to saying a meaningless world engenders fear. It basically causes fear to arise in us. And you might say, well, okay, this makes no sense, especially after you read some of these lines in here. So it says, a meaningless world is impossible. Okay, wait. You've been telling me, I've been saying that I'm upset because I see a meaningless world. I've been saying my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world, and you're telling me a meaningless world doesn't exist? Like, I don't understand, right? So it goes on to say, nothing without meaning exists. However, it does not follow that you will not think you perceive something that has no meaning. On the contrary, you will be particularly likely to think you do perceive it, right? So it goes back to the whole idea of perception. We think we see something in the world, hate, destruction, fear. We think we see these things in the world because that's what we perceive. We see it as meaningless because we see it as meaningless. We perceive it as meaningless. And why do we see that? Because we're separated. And it says that recognition of meaninglessness. Sorry, I'm like recognition of meaninglessness arouses intense anxiety in all the separated ones. Right? And the separated ones are those that are still living in ego, those who are not awake, those who have not become one with the higher T truth, who have not recognized that we live in a world of illusion. Those are the separated ones. And so you're on the journey right now to becoming awake, to seeing things as they truly are meant to be seen, rather than seeing them as you perceive them. And again, I'm still in the mode of perceiving. And that's why, when I do perceive something one way, I will a lot of times ask, Lord, help me to see this differently. Help me to see this in a different way. Help me to see this as it truly is. Help me to step into the shoes of the other person. That helps me to see things differently. To see it from the side of the other party. Sometimes, we still don't get it when we see it from the side of the other party, or we see something that we weren't expecting to see. Maybe, a fearfulness in someone that we expected or looked at as powerful. But obviously, those things don't happen until we start going through these lessons. You're not able to necessarily perceive differently until you understand that you aren't perceiving in the correct manner, or that you're not seeing things for what they truly are. So it goes on, here to speak about that, and state that it is essential that you learn to recognize the meaninglessness and accept it without fear. Because typically when we say something is meaningless and we accept it, oh my God, I live in a meaningless world. Oh my God, like this is scaring me. Like nothing means anything. Nothing means anything. Like I'm getting scared, right? So But this is telling us to accept that without fear, because when we step into that fear-based mindset, what happens is we give the world that fear, and so everything looks scary to us. It's one of the examples that I always like to use is like the news. The news is one of my pet peeves, and not knocking anyone that still watches it, but many times the news has a lot of negative stories. It has a lot of stories that engender fear. It tells you about certain things that happen in this world, things that are constantly, people that are scamming, out to get people, this, that, and the other. And so you become this like protective person, like, oh my God, the world is out to get me. And that's your viewpoint for everything. Well, on the news, they said this, so the world is out to get me. And it just seeps into every aspect of your life. You push the cart to your car, after you're going to the grocery store and somebody gets too close and you're like, why are they so close on me? Because the world is out to get me, right? You become that perceptive from that perspective, right? So, if we are fearful, it is certain that we will endow the world with attributes that it does not possess, right? That's what the language says here. So, in order to not do that, it again gives us exercises. It tells us to go through them 3 or 4 times today and not for more than a minute. And we just casually say, I'm looking at a meaningless world, looking at a meaningless world. And then at the end, we close our eyes and we conclude with this statement: a meaningless world engenders fear because I think I'm in competition with God. Mic drop, right? And so what happens? The Course knows. The Course knows that you are probably going, I'm sorry, excuse me? Competition with God? What's happening? So it says, you might find it difficult to avoid a resistance to this concluding statement. Whatever form such resistance may take, remind yourself that you are really afraid of such a thought because of the vengeance of the enemy. You are not expected to believe the statement at this point and will probably dismiss it as preposterous. Note carefully, however, any signs of overt or covert fear which it may arouse. And it says, this is our first attempt at stating an explicit cause and effect relationship of a kind which you are very inexperienced in recognizing. Do not dwell on this concluding statement and try not to even think of it except during the practice periods. That will suffice at present. So it's a big one, but they've already told you, don't dwell on it. Don't go over it, because it's not meant for you to understand at this time, right? Obviously, once you go through the entire course, it will become understandable to you. You will understand how you could perceive how you could be in competition with God, or how you could be making yourself be in competition with God. But right now, you can't even fathom that, right? So just say it. You don't have to necessarily believe it right now, but just say it and practice 3 or 4 times, a minute only. Observe your resistance. Maybe you can write about it, journal about it, because like I said, it's going to come back up later on, and you'll be able to walk yourself through it. All right. So I hope that helps you guys. I hope this is making it a little bit easier for you to get through the lessons and everything. Obviously, let me know. Feel free to drop me a comment below. Feel free to share this out with people that you think might need to hear it. And feel free to subscribe based on this so that you don't miss one of these lessons one day. All right. Talk to you guys later. Have a great one. Bye.